Nick Colton with another podcast episode of Sales and Marketing Secrets, and I have a really, really special, actually two special guests here today with Vanessa and Nick. And right now, we're doing a whole series in our training and coaching on all things video marketing. And Nick and Vanessa, I think we've been working together on and off for almost a couple of years now, right?
Think so. Yeah. I mean, I know we got started doing some stuff together within our first year in business. So we're getting close to 3 years. So probably has to be about
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I believe in is that anytime that somebody really specializes in a particular area, that you want to stand on their shoulders, so to speak. You guys have probably heard of the term standing on the shoulders of giants. And when it comes to video marketing, Vanessa and Nick are giants in that arena. And so what we do with our training and coaching, if you haven't tuned in, or if you're not familiar with our program, what we do is we kind of have a theme that we really hyper focus on every month. And we call at the cornerstone of our training and coaching is our sales acceleration blueprint. And in that blueprint, there's 7 what we call profit activators, and social media and video marketing is one of them. And so we're taking a really deep dive into video marketing. And so Vanessa and Nick and I ran a 2-day live event that was actionable, where we taught some cool stuff about video. And then we went out and did video. And on a side note, Nick and Vanessa, I had a really awesome testimonial come in. Her name is Chrissy Young. She's been doing a video, text, and email, and a phone call to each one of her leads.
Oh,
and
nice.
and that's one touch. And she's been adding in the video. She never used to do the video text. And literally, like, this is going on, I think it's the second week from the event, right? We're running into the second week.
Right.
She's secured $4 million.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's amazing.
$4 million. Now she prospects. So what she does is she does it exactly how you're supposed to do it. So what she'll do is she has a new lead that comes in, and she touches that new lead every day for 10 days. And she's been doing this, but adding video into it. And she said she's almost getting double the response by doing the video text than just doing the phone call. So, and I just want to give you guys a shout out, because I know that was one of the things that you trained on, at the event, and I'm a huge promoter of. And it's just so cool to see the results that can, these are such little things in a lot of ways, but they're big things, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what blows my mind with video. It's like, I worked in marketing my whole career, and in the marketing world, if you can increase a rate by a couple percent, it's like a huge success. Oh man, our conversion rate went up just a little bit, and then you put this video stuff in there, and people are talking about doubling or tripling their results. I mean, the impact of this stuff is just almost immeasurable compared to things I used to do in the past, so I love those kinds of stories, because so simple.
Too.
I mean, that's just
me too.
not that much work there.
And another thing I love about that specifically is we're talking about what we call, one-to-one video messaging, which sometimes people don't understand what that means, but really just means sending a video to one other person. So he or she's converting leads with video. And what we see with our video school is a lot of people come in thinking, I just need to be on TikTok. I need to be on Instagram. I need to do all these really public forms of video. And you can definitely do that. And it is an important part of your strategy. But what's so much simpler, and actually sometimes makes a bigger impact, is just using video to communicate with one other person and make them feel special and make them have a better communication experience with you. And that's proof of that. It's so much easier too.
Yeah. And that's one thing I like. That's one thing I love about business video school, and how you guys teach it and train it and have it set up. Cause we have the same values when it comes to marketing, where if you're a real estate agent, most of these people, and I wasn't, where, you don't come from, some sort of trust fund baby, or right. You have all this money sitting around where you can focus on just building a brand all day long and not having to worry about getting results now. And that's why I love it's so important, I think, to really focus on what I call direct response marketing efforts. And this is an example of it. And wrapped around branding. You have your branding kind of comes, but the order of which you guys train it, where like, hey, look, let's do things that are going to get results now. And then as we get better and consistent at those things, we can work on some of the things that are relationship building and branding and, important. But let's talk a little bit about that. Why do you guys train it that way? I might have already just said why, but like, I'd love to hear it from you a little more in depth. So
sure. Yeah, well, I'll start just because I have actually, I did a little research the other day because I was kind of curious about this. And so I posted on LinkedIn, I got this little poll thing you can put out there. And I just did a little survey and asked people, hey, when email first came out, so we're going back a couple decades at this point, kind of early internet, right? And I was like, so when you first got an email address, did you send emails to a single person first? Did you send emails to a small group of people, or did you send emails to like a large list, like marketing to a whole bunch of people? And every single person obviously said, I send emails to individual people, right? So it's like every other form of communication that we've developed over the past so many thousands of years. I mean, they've almost always started in that very intimate one-to-one, it's the way we build relationships, the way we retain relationships, all that stuff. But video didn't. And I think that there's sort of an interesting psychological catch that happened there, where most folks, if you think about the concept of video, right? Like, hey, I'm going to go make a video. Like all we're going to do is we're going to think about the versions of that we already know of, the ones that we're most familiar with. And so if you look back over time, like we've been using and watching and consuming video for about 100 years now, but it's been movies initially, then we eventually had television. And then, for a brief period now, we sort of had like YouTube and the social media aspect of it. And so I think what it did is it just got people completely flipped in reverse, right? So they sort of looked at it and went, well, what do I know? I know television, and it's this performance, and it's scary, and it's intimidating. And, like I know a friend who got interviewed on a local news station once, and they were embarrassed, just like they have all these stories in their head, and they don't even think about talking to a single person. It just doesn't even pop into their mind. So in a lot of ways, like as we started working with a lot of, especially real estate agents, we realized like, they are starting on the absolute most complicated version of this. They're seeing it as this very public thing, and it's overwhelming, and, everybody's going to judge their appearance, which they weren't, but they were worried about that kind of stuff. And if, as we started to use it, we realized like, hey, when we just message a single person, like, man, that impresses people. They feel much closer to us. They understand us a lot more effectively. It reduces, customer service issues, miscommunication. And nobody was thinking about it, So in a lot of ways, like that's kind of where it came from. Is we started using it, and we went, wow, this is so much faster in terms of results. It's so much more impactful. There's no pressure compared to posting something publicly. Why don't they start here? And then we started to look into it, and there wasn't a lot of training about it, and hardly anybody was talking about it. And I think everybody just got caught up in the rush of, hey, we're going to get on TikTok, we're going on YouTube, and skipped over what I think should be your first maybe year, maybe couple years of using video is just in this one-to-one or one to a few kind of format. And then you move on to the popular, the more public stuff, right?
Yeah, I think the public stuff strokes our ego a little bit more, maybe, and that's why it
well,
sticks
right.
in our mind, is because like, oh yeah, I'm going to be YouTube famous or whatever, whatever we think,
right.
When we do that, it's like, like what the same reason why we want to go get a billboard or make sure our signs are beautiful, right? It's like kind of that same mindset. We like to see our picture and our name on everything. So I think that might be another reason why we like to start there first.
I think so. I think it's also, like you said, just most easily available. And unfortunately, because that's also most easily available, that they, you see somebody's YouTube videos, you don't see them communicating with their customers with a private one-to-one video message. For some people who like to be seen and like to be on camera or post on social media, they gravitate anyways to those public forms of video. But there's a whole horde of people who instead are intimidated by that, and they don't get started with video because they don't realize there's this private forum that they can start with and practice, get to know the tech, practice their video skills, practice how to be more confident on camera. All those things come with one-to-one video messaging, and then let's not forget about the results of it too. So we've had our students do something as simple as send birthday video messages to people in their sphere of influence, and they pick up listings. just saying happy birthday, like something as simple as that. So obviously you talked about your client using it for lead conversion, but you can just communicate with people in your sphere of influence. You can explain issues to your current clients in a better way, like Nick talked about. You could show your screen, explain a contract, show more complicated things. So there's a variety of ways to use video messaging to have a huge impact.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I partnered up with his name's Lee Moriatis with EXP, and it's a joint venture, but we're building a group out through EXP called the Renegade Group. And so we have a call every Thursday. We were doing a training on video, and we came up with a list of all the things that you were just talking about, all the ways we could use video. So when a lead comes in, you can do a video. When you're following up with your lead, you can do video. Social messaging, like you're talking about birthday. This is an interesting one. One of my clients started doing after every meeting with one of their clients. They just did a quick follow-up video, just saying, hey, great to meet with you. Here's my action steps. Looking forward to get a hold of you soon. And she said, like, her experience with her clients, her replies have been like happy faces, happy emojis, like thank you, like just that little touch just has taken her client experience to a whole nother level. I like another one is what you just said, is when instead of like text messaging talking about contracts, getting them on video, getting them back on Zoom.
Right.
We really hit big on that was when we start getting into these long texting conversations. And it could be about a sensitive topic, or it could just be just communication. Like I caught myself in it the other day where I was negotiating a contract, and I was asking him questions. He's asking me questions. We're going back and forth. And that almost happened for like almost 10 minutes. And then I'm like, this is stupid. Like, and immediately I'm like, all right, I got to do video. And so I just did a quick video and just sent him a quick video saying, well, what I meant by bullet point number 1 and number 2 was XYZ. Does that work for you? And immediately I got a reply back, a thumbs up. Right. Yes. Awesome. Conversation done. Right. Over. And it's like all just because of a little video. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Vanessa. There's so many ways to use video just to enhance the overall relationship, saving time, saving money, saving energy, the whole thing. So I think that's really powerful. And Nick mentioned, I think you mentioned something, Nick, that I took a note down is, we get into the equipment part of things, and we get into the quality part of things. And, like you can start off with this because you don't have to worry about too much of that and get used to the video and getting used to video. And it was funny because I was doing a training on this, and I was literally training on just doing video text message. And then immediately the whole team goes, well, what technology should I be using like to do these videos? And do I need to get what's the quality of the camera? Should I use my phone and this and that? And it was just so funny how the brain, and we were just talking about doing a video text. Right. And then like the whole team was like, Isaiah, I think I know what you're like, because they could like see my face and like on Zoom like this.
Right.
And then they're like, and so this guy, his name is David, and he's like, I know what Isaiah's thinking. He goes, we're overcomplicating this. Just send a damn text message.
Right.
Text message. And then it went down another rabbit hole. This is funny how our mind works. And then it was, well, I have an Android, so if I send the video text from an Android to an iPhone, it's going to come across fuzzy. So like, is there another app that that I can use so it doesn't come across? And then the same conversation happened, and David, it was so funny. Dave is in my head. He's like, just do the video. It's a fuzzy video. You're never going to lose a client because you had a little bit of a fuzzy video text message. Just do the video. Right. So what are your experience? I know you're in this world every day. That's why I wanted to bring up this story. So like, you probably hear stuff like this all the time, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. People, we talk about it sometimes as using tech to procrastinate, right? I mean, tech is fun. It's sexy. Everyone wants to go out and buy the latest gadgets, and also they're concerned about their appearance and quality and these things that ultimately don't matter as much to other people but they're looking at their video feeling like this is not the best version of me. Well, when we go out and we network or we pick up the phone call, are we always the best versions of ourselves, or our hair is out of place, or, some days we're disheveled. So we really need to treat video that same way too. Just be authentic, like you're talking about, and just do it. But Nick has a really great,
video, right?
Yeah.
Especially like a text video,
But,
like
right.
you can see like in a long form YouTube video, I might be a little bit more polished. I'm going to pay more attention to my lighting and stuff like that.
Certain platforms require a certain level of performance and a professionalism. YouTube is one of those because it's all video, so it's very competitive to get your video seen, and a lot of people aesthetically have great quality videos, but it still ultimately comes down to the value of the video too. So I've seen kind of crappy looking YouTube videos, but if they explained a process super well, that can perform well too. So even YouTube at times, you don't have to have the most professional setup if the value is just so, out of this world. But Nick, you give guidance to our students, and I like the way you say it. So when do you tell people to buy tech?
Yeah, well, so our rule in business video school is you purchase equipment or technology, apps, that kind of stuff, when you have encountered the problem that it solves. So you don't ever buy anything preemptively, because it literally just becomes another way to delay doing the work, right? So yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, this is a 4K. I mean, I can actually, this phone is 2 years old at this point. I can record 8K video with it, and there's hardly any TVs you can even watch 8K on, so there's you don't need anything more complicated or fancy than this. And then sure, I mean, as you get into the details, like, it is true, if you text between an Android and iPhone, you will lose some quality, but you should have done that and decided it's an issue before you go out and buy the tool to resolve the problem. So yeah, I think if people start to think, I'm only going to get something when I've actually dealt with the issue. We run into this with lights a lot. People want to go out and buy lights, and I'm like, well, try setting up in front of a window for a few videos, see how it looks. I mean, you're just finding this is just stuff to put off having to make that next video. And I can say that because I used to do the same thing. I got to get the light, and I got to set up gotta be the right distance from the camera and all that kind of stuff. And I think if we think, I always emphasize it's a form of communication. So I always tell people, think video first. So anytime you're going to reach out to an individual, a group, post on social media, whatever it is, ask yourself if it would be better if it was a video. And it's not always yes, right? I mean, there's certainly responses, short answers, all kinds of stuff where a short text or email makes a lot of sense. But as you were just talking about with the negotiation, we have an event we're hosting with the American Marketing Association in St. Louis, and we're partnering with a local nonprofit that rescues dogs. And I was explaining the event to her, and it went back and forth in email, shot her a video, 2-minute explanation. She was like, that's great. I understand exactly what we're doing now. And so that, as we've got so many examples now in this conversation alone, it's like, it's a better way to talk to people if you cannot be face-to-face. And if you start there and you build gradually, there's no version, like you said, a grainy video is still better than having just texted the person, right? So if we start there, we won't worry about equipment. We'll go, and then eventually we ask ourselves, hey, for my viewer, will this equipment make this a better experience, right? Now we're not focusing on ourselves. We're not obsessing over our own appearance. We're thinking about the people who are watching our content, which is what we should always be doing, right?
Yeah, that's good. I think that going back to like the grainy video, one of the clients that we were talking about, what she did just to safeguard it, because she's just really worried about it, I guess. But she actually typed out the text. She typed out the text like below the video, and so far that's been working for her. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's like a transcript basically of the video. Yeah.
So like kind of like the bullet points. So if you're really hyper worried about it, then that's something that you can do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a good point though, is that one thing you will run into with video is that because it's usually sort of piggybacking on another kind of communication. Like if I send a video through text, if I get a text, I can just immediately read the text. So the action is just open the text, then it's there. With the video, it's open the text, then click on the video. And for most of us, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but this has been researched pretty extensively. Every additional step somebody has to take, some people will not take that step. So I am a big fan of including at least a summary of what you're saying, or just a couple bullet points or something, because some of those people, maybe they're in an environment where they cannot open the video and watch it, right? So I do think, or the alternative there is, make sure the videos are captioned. So if they watch it with the sound turned off, they can still read it. But I do think, having a little bit of multiple kinds of ways for somebody to understand what you're trying to say is probably a good idea.
Awesome. So I want to end off this podcast, and because we're doing a whole series on video, but I want to end off this particular podcast with any just advice that you would give the realtor that is going from what we're talking about, what their next step should be after they've gotten, they've kind of gotten the basics of video texting. They're started integrating in their daily life. What should their next step be from there? And maybe we can end there for today's podcast.
So, at least from my perspective, I think we always try to go one step of complexity further, right? So video messages are probably the simplest form of video. If you've done them a lot, you maybe have acquired a couple small pieces of equipment at that point, because again, maybe you've run into some lighting issues, maybe some audio, maybe you have a microphone or something. From there, I personally like to stay focused on the simple stuff, right? So I like to look at, like, at that point, can I start to automate some of my communication? Are there frequently asked questions I can record my best possible answer to and put in a file on my phone? And now whenever I get a client texting me or calling me with that question, I can just fire off a link directly to that video. Trainings, really just anything where you can sort of, I sort of say, like, replace yourself with video, scale what you're doing, but it doesn't eliminate any conversations. It just means that when they do talk to you, they have a higher level of understanding, right? So now you get a customer, they immediately get this series of FAQ videos. Now they're informed about the process. Now, when they come into their first meeting with you, you're having a much higher level conversation versus wasting time answering the same thing you've talked to the past 5 people about, right? So I think personally that's kind of my next recommendation. I don't know, Vanessa, if you have an alternative or want to talk about what you do after that.
Sure. Yeah, we have actually a pretty specific system where, first start with video messages, then, like Nick was talking about, make your business more efficient, scale yourself with video. The third part of that system is start to develop a marketing funnel with video, or incorporate video into a marketing funnel. But it can be used so strategically in different phases. So, we talk about awareness, consideration, conversion videos, but then also past getting a client, keeping those clients loyal, and then getting them to advocate and refer to you. There's a lot of videos that fit within a full, 5-step funnel. And so once you make all the videos that go into the right spots in that funnel, you'll never be caught off guard again. If you're spending a lot of time, for instance, prospecting on social media, you don't want to get a lead and then not have anywhere for them to go or any information for them to see. So if you spend some time really making sure you have at least one video in each part of that funnel, you'll have something to use and to build on. And then that funnel might be built on social media, it could be built through email, it could be built through direct mail, all types of different places, or maybe a combination of different mediums, but that's really useful. And then from there, you can finally get into some of the really public forms of video where you're at an awareness level, just broadcasting your message out on social media or YouTube or other places. So that's our approach, is to take it step by step, kind of earning your way up to that public form of video. So by the time you're there, you feel confident, and you also have a complete system in place to then convert all that interest into actual business.
Yeah, and I'm like the perfect testimony for you guys, because I was primarily, most of my business was done through efforts of outbound calling. And what I've done is, over the past year and a half or so, taking that recommendation and actually working with our team, going through that sequence. And so we started off with training and coaching on prospecting through text message. Then we transitioned where what we did is we took all of our text message scripts that were built into our automation, and we just turned them into 20-second videos. And that was a game changer for us through our marketing automation. That was our next step. And then from there, we started doing FAQ videos, where we just, anytime we had at any point that our clients had a question, we just would shoot the FAQ video. and we just had them there for our team. And then we moved to adding video into our marketing funnels. We generate tons of leads now. And so I'm at the phase right now of more of like trying to get better at doing videos for like social media. And then I'm going to attempt to tackle YouTube, which is a monster. The more you dig into what you really need to do to make it successful.
Yeah.
It's a monster.
Yeah. Wow. But Isaiah, you really did that whole sequence in that same order we kind of recommend.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it seems like it's working. Yeah.
And I say this in the most humble way, the like that order, if people follow that order, that's how you do it the right way and make a lot of money in the process.
Yes.
There's other ways to do it, but if you're trying to make money while you're figuring this whole thing out, the order they teach it in, that's why they're teaching it in that order. So really appreciate you guys and everything you guys bring to the real estate community and the home services industry in general. And if you guys have not checked out Business Video School, go check them out. They have a step-by-step process to walk you through all the stuff and more that we're talking about, a whole bunch of fun challenges that they do, video scripts, classes, on and on and on and on and on. So you go check them out, and maybe if I twist their arm, I can get them back on the next podcast where we can talk about other forms of video. But I really appreciate you guys joining ourselves, and for the hundreds of thousands of people that are going to get this email or get this message, listen, just do exactly what she just went through and what we went through in that order, and you'll have a ton of success. So thank you guys very much for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks.